Welcome to the I would not call it a podcast. I would call it a conversation with the CXOs. So you are our very first guest for this entire series. Welcome to the show, and I would request you to start off by introducing yourself to the audience.
Thanks, Rishabh, for inviting me in the CXO talk. I know we've been talking about it for some time, and unfortunately, because of our time, we couldn't catch up. But yeah, let me introduce myself. My name is Anup Purohit. Been a banker technologist for over 3 decades, predominantly. Right now, I'm kind of on a professional break, kind of doing a soul searching about my next move. But yeah, predominantly a banker technologist, I would say. Barring my last stint, which was with Wipro, not a banking, but I was with Wipro. I wanted to try out my kind of a hands in an IT company, so I was there. So that's about me.
Thank you for that introduction. I mean, I would like to add to that. It was a very humble introduction from Mr. Anup, but to add to it, he's also a certified independent director from IICA. He has had experience of a global and multicultural environment with the US, UK, Africa, Middle East, and you just name it. He has worked with those clients. No doubt, he has had an extensive experience in the CXO management. But yeah, without getting into more details, I'll add all of those details about his experience in the description part of the video. But moving forward, right, before we delve into any of that, I would want to know a bit more about your personal journey from how it all started, right? Where let's start all the way back from your schooling days, right? So
It's something very different. I've been done a lot of interviews, a lot of stuff. Nobody has ventured into that journey, but I'll try and do justice and be transparent in this piece. So I was born in Middle East, Bahrain. My dad had a business there, and then for my schooling and everything has happened in Mumbai. So for the last 50 years, you can call it the hardcore Mumbaiite from a middle class family. I lost my parents very early, even before I was in teens. We were a big family of 10, one less for a soccer team from that perspective. I'm the only, I would say, an engineering graduate in my family. Thanks to my brother who helped me in my education, but also people like one of my best buddy, you can call it Premal Parekh, and his mom, who is also my mom now. I couldn't say that, Shudha Parekh. They kind of I spent my, you can call it my initial childhood days, or probably all my schooling and engineering and colleges time at his place, and then that's where I had a flair towards becoming some professionals in that space. Also, as I said, I was from the lower middle class family. I did some odd jobs in schools too, since I lost my parents, to manage my personal expenses. I used to distribute newspapers. I also washed auto rickshaws to manage these things. But this was during my school days to just ensure the kids typically who lose their parents become mature a little bit early in the age. So I was one among them. My wife, who was also my school friend, was thinking of becoming a doctor. So I thought, boss, मैं भी doctor बन जाता हूँ. I started studying for PCB. My friend Premal, he wanted to become an engineer, so मैं बोला चलो मैं भी engineering बनूंगा. So I studied for PCM also. So I did all PCMB. Nowadays we had all the choices. So I had a physics, chemistry, bio, math, and I got 93 in my HSC. We didn't had the common entrance. We were graded on our PCM score. So I had 93, 93, 93. So then it was a kind of a junction where I had to decide which way to go. I chose engineering because. Very simple reason. After 4 years, you are on your own. You can start work. If you do medicine, you have to 5.5 years. Then you do postgrad. Then investment in your university in your own practice. So it was a call which I took that I will go with an engineering, and no regrets. I'm kind of happy with what I'm doing. I started my career in Middle East. My brother had a business there, so I kind of went there and started my career with one of the Liverpool University had an offshore center in Abu Dhabi. So I started there as a technology line administrator, and then I kind of they wanted me to start teaching because obviously Indian are very good in English and mathematics. So I started teaching, but I thought this was not my cup of tea, and I chose to come back. That was one reason. Also, the other reason was my wife, who is now my wife, was my friend at that point in time, and she couldn't practice anywhere outside India being a homeopath. So I said I have to have my career in India. So I chose to come back. After that, I joined a small IT company called Microland, who was doing some work for JP Morgan. And when JP Morgan started its footprint in India somewhere around 98, they were earlier a joint venture between ICICI and JP Morgan. In 98, they decided to start their own footprint in debt market and forex and investment banking. So I chose to join them directly. Was with JP Morgan for close to 10 years of my career, doing all technology, infrastructure, program management, offshoring, KPs, whatever today we call it the captive centers. We started back then for JP Morgan. I was 22nd employee when I joined JP Morgan in India. 2008 when or 7 when the retail banking was kind of a booming, and then I was kind of getting more licenses. Barclays decided to re-enter in India for their retail and commercial banking business, and I chose, okay, let me try my hands over there. So I joined them to set up their entire data centers and the business applications and that, to get the business up and running. But that was a difficult time. If you recollect, that was a time Lehman Brothers crisis, 2008, the entire global economy meltdown. Wrong time, but fortunately for me, Barclays was a big company. Then I helped them in their regional areas, Africa and Middle East. I was managing their technology over there for some time. Post that, kind of, I was living out of a suitcase at that point in time in the African countries and Mumbai. I thought that's becoming too much. So at that point in time, RBL Bank, which was called Ratnakar Bank at that point in time, they kind of decided to transform themselves to become a new age bank. People thought that's a cooperative bank. No, it was a proper full-fledged scheduled commercial bank at that point in time. We had to kind of transform it. So few bankers came together from Bank of America, Vish, Rajiv, Nitin, Guru. I was asked to join them from the technology point of view. We came together and kind of transformed the bank to what Ratnakar Bank or RBL Bank is today. It was I would say, very fulfilling experience. Post that, I was with Yes Bank for close to 7 years. A different kind of an experience for me in that space. And then was with Wipro last 4 years. As I said, we'll talk about a little bit more as we progress into this. But your question, what made me draw to tech and finance? I don't want to give you any sexy answer that, okay, I had planned these things in my life that I'll go and do this. No, sorry. I went with the flow in my career. But yes, in 2003, I remember when, so in 2003, JP Morgan outsourced the technology to IBM for 21 months. And when Jamie Dimon came in, he said, sorry, technology, inherent part of business, have to begin. And then I came back to JP Morgan in 2004. At that point in time, one of my bosses, John McCloskey, he told me to prepare a career graph to see where I want to be, where I spent my first 10 years, and then where I want to see myself in next 10 years. And that was the first time I prepared my roadmap that I want to become a CIO by 2015. And then I want to kind of a graduate from there and then decide the management track which I will take. And fortunately, God's been kind that I followed that route, and I became a CIO in 2010 instead of 2015. So from there, it was no looking back, I would say, in my journey. So sorry, what drew me to tech and finance? It was the flow which took me in that direction. Nothing planned why I was banking. But today, yeah, I can tell you I'm no regrets. I call myself as a banking technologist rather than a technologist.
Okay, that's been quite a journey, I would say. It started off with you not being aware of whether you want to do engineering, whether you want to get into medical, and then eventually pivoting yourself as and when you moved along the way. So before we get into the latter part of it, coming back to your childhood, right? You mentioned that your childhood taught you resilience, right? It inculcated that into you. Then eventually along the way you met people who influenced you in a certain way, right? Now, if you were to pick someone who would have been your role model throughout this journey, who would that person be and why?
For me, there are, I would say, two people who have been my, or probably multiple, I would say. One, I would say my brother, who ensured that since we lost our parents, and he selflessly kind of took care of the family from the
Mhm.
age of 15. So he didn't educate it. So he was one of the person whom I respected a lot. Then was my friend's mother, Sudha, whom I call my mother. She was one of the role model. I learned a lot of things the way she used to manage the family. I tried to inculcate the same thing in my professional approach as well. So she was one of the role model, and I give a lot to my wife as well. She's been a kind of a rock solid backbone to see that how the entire family grew and how I grew professionally. And the same approach I ensure when I am working as well, that I am the backbone of the business. Technology is the backbone of the business, and then I replicate those kind of behaviors or attributes, what they did it in their personal life to manage things. I replicate this. So I won't say that I followed a great leaders. No, for me these three are the role models, I would say.
Okay. And apart from resilience, right? If there were two more things that your childhood journey taught you, right? What would that be?
One is I would say gratitude. As I said, it was a tough journey for the entire family. But at the same time, God has been kind, and we work towards that. And so gratitude is something which I learned a lot, and I believe in that, that one should always be grounded in what you do. Yes, you can grow, but all don't leave the foundation of what you are. So that's one big thing which I would say I learned from my childhood. The second thing is which I always felt, I don't know whether it's my strength or a weakness, I always think from putting myself in the opposite person's shoe for anything, any conversation. Even when I'm talking to you right now, I'm thinking, what is your expectation out of me in this conversation? So I try and do that. And that's built as a part of my inherent behavior, thinking from kind of the person's opposite person's shoe and then their point of view, and then put myself in that, and then I kind of take views and decisions around that.
So, reflecting on what you said, right? It was resilience, it was empathy, and it was gratitude, right? And surprisingly, these, at least from what I understand, leadership is, these are sort of the pillars of leadership, I would call it, being empathetic towards others, putting yourselves in their shoes, understanding what your people want from you, right? Resilience, no doubt, you have shown that right from day one in your life, and gratitude as well. Right. So would you call yourself a naturally born leader, or was it something that you were shaped into being? So how was
Uh,
that?
I would say it's a combination of both. It's not a simple thing that you have inherent behavior of leadership. Yes, there was some behavioral trait in me, but a lot of things I acquired over the journey as well. Throughout my life, as I said, I learned from everything. One thing which I always feel that I try to learn from anyone, including the toddlers, I try to learn, or the senior most people, or the animals around me on the ecosystem. I try to learn from them. So that's something to that keeps me going. So, and that's something nobody can say is a perfect leader. So you have to acquire those and kind of keep on acquiring until you live to become to demonstrate your leadership behaviors in that area. I have a different definition of leadership. We can speak about that.
Yeah, we'll definitely get to that as well. So yeah, coming to that itself. So what according to you is leadership, right?
So I think so. I remember. So one is the way I grew up in my childhood, and then I remember in 2003 when I was temporarily from JP Morgan outsourced to IBM and then came back. During that period, I had undergone a course at Harvard, which was talking about leadership, and that actually ingrained as a part of. And those things I thought I have to acquire in me. So there was some inherent trait, but there were some traits which I spoke about and I thought I had to acquire. For me, the leadership is like an ability where one can execute with speed, because speed is an important aspect. Simplicity, don't make things complex. With the teamwork, don't go alone. Take the team along with you so that you can keep your business. If I'm a banker, technologist, I have to keep my business ahead in the competitive market. I have to give them an edge. I have to ensure that our customers are satisfied. So for me, that's leadership. And I typically try to classify them into four buckets. So the first bucket I would say is something which you strategize, which is I call it as a focus to win. What is it that you're working? For me, leadership is not in general. If I'm talking to you, I should have a plan, what I should and what you should get out of it. So there has to be a defined roadmap when during this conversation. Likewise, if I'm doing some project, it has to be defined. I'm a CIO, I have a defined, so I have to have a strategy. So I call it focus to win. And focus to win for me means like understanding the environment for which you are servicing end to end end to end to achieve the breakthrough outcomes for your business. वो strategy होना चाहिए. That's important. First leg, a part of it. The second is having strategy is of zilch use. as long as until you have your plans in place to execute. How do you mobilize your resources to execute this and execute it with, as I said, speed, simplicity, and teamwork. That's an important aspect so that you are able to convert or actualize your strategy. But that can't be one time. It has to be sustainable. So then the third leg, which I call is a sustained momentum, the outcome what you provide by implementing the strategy has to be sustainable. It can't be a flavor of the season one time. It has to be a sustainable outcome. So focus on the sustainability to get a everlasting or a long-lasting results. And the fourth, which is the most important, and I feel that is the core or that cut across anything and everything is the passion, is the energy, is something which you believe in. And then that has to reflect when you are having the conversation, the core. If I'm a banking technologist, I need to ensure, I need to be believing that the technology can add wonders to the business and it can give a very different edge to the business. That you have to believe. That passion you need to have for excellence, which you will achieve in business through the technology what you are delivering. So that's a core passion for excellence in what you believe. So four areas: focus to win, mobilize your resources to execute, sustain momentum, everlasting result or long-lasting result, and then the core, which is the passion. These four are important aspects for me. And then there are various attributes in these buckets, various kind of attributes in this bucket. So when I say focus to win, what does it mean? Strategy, what does it mean? I need to be sitting in the mind of my customer. As I said, as a behavior, I need to sit in your mind to think what are you expecting out of me. So that's an important aspect. I need to be knowing my customers upfront, what are their expectations out of me, and I should preempt them and give them the solution. It's not when you ask me, I'll give you. I have to preempt something and give it to you. I should be thinking out of the box kind of a thing. That's a behavior. I should be driving to achieve the outcome. Those are strategy in the first bucket, what I feel. When I say mobilize to execute, as we said, two important or three important things which I feel are important. One is the team leadership. You should be able to lead the team. You can't run alone. You run fast, you run alone. You run along with the team. You take the team along on that. That's important. Teamwork is important. Straight talk and decisiveness. These are the two important aspects which you have to build in for me. And then obviously all these behaviors may not there exist in everyone, and you don't want to even master all these behaviors. But at least certain behaviors you need to master. So for me in this bucket, I used to own three areas: team leadership, straight talk, and decisiveness. I'm known for taking decisions. Nobody takes decisions faster than me in my organizations or even my personal life. Straight talk. I have lost my job because of straight talk, but I didn't give up that trait in JP Morgan. I said, sorry, I ain't giving up. You don't like it, your problem. And if I have to forfeit my job for that, I'm okay. But I'm not going to give up this trait. That's an important trait for me. That's an important behavior or competency for me. It's likewise when you say sustain momentum, you need to be coaching the team and people, kids around you. How do you take them? You need to demonstrate, lead by example when you are kind of running in these areas of to achieve a long lasting result. If you lead by example, people will follow you and then they will start leading this. So these are the behaviors or competencies. You can't achieve all of them, but at least for me, I had my own chart created: passion, non-negotiable; core. It has to be infectious when you are leading the team, when you're talking and you're believing in some outcome what you're expecting. The customer insight, focus on the customer, keeping them straight talk, decisiveness. These are the behavior. You can't procrastinate your decision. You have to have those things done. Likewise, sustain momentum in terms of think ahead of, coach, mentor the team, take them along. So these are the few behaviors I thought I will master. I will become a role model in these areas. And I practice that since 2003. I still practice it today as we speak.
That's some great insights, and I'll have to admit that this is entirely a new perspective. I'm hearing it for the first time, and it makes total sense to me. So thank you for that. And you mentioned that it involves decision making at a decent pace, right? So you need to, right?
Absolutely. Procrastination in the business is, see, today, a lot of people in a corporate world don't want to take a decision because of the bureaucracy. They come in and then somebody will point at me. I believe in one thing. If something comes to my table, basis the facts and my experience of the outcome which I'm expecting, I will take a decision and own up the decision. I
Right.
own up the decision. Whether people like it or not like it, but I feel, so when I take my decision, I keep on the top when it comes to corporate life. Then I keep business as a second. Then I keep my department as third. I keep my team as a fourth, and then I keep myself as a fifth. In this order of priority, I take a decision. Period. So my funda is very simple. These are 5 priorities from 1 to 5, and then I take decision. Fortunately for me, it has not never backfired. I take decisions very good.
Right. So in process of this decision making, right, there might have been times where uh, a particular decision that you take might not have been probably the best decision at that point in time when you reflect back, right? And could you highlight any such things? Because we want our viewers to not just learn about the successes, we also want them to learn about the failures, right? So there might have been decisions that might have not actually backfired, but in retrospect, it might have been the case that there could have been a better decision possible at that point in time, right? So how did you approach that, and any specific example that you have in mind?
No, so as I said, I gave you an example of why I was asked to go from JP Morgan. One of the decision, which or a straight talk, which I had. It was a town hall where I did challenge a few people in the town hall, senior people in the town hall, and my boss didn't like it on that, and he said you have to apologize in writing to those people. I said sorry, I ain't apologizing it, and
Mhm.
it backfired. Then you can't be in the organization. I said okay, that's great, no problem. But I think what I asked was the right question. In fact, those people whom I challenged them, they never had any problem. My boss had a problem, but that's okay. That's one. Apart from that, I'm sure there are multiple decisions which I would have taken, which maybe right at that point in time, but in the long term, maybe it would have worked because it's general thought. Because when as a CIO, when so for example, uh, I'll give you one thing which I believe very clearly. When I succeed anybody in the role as a CIO, I'm sure when those were people, they would have taken a decision. I may feel that I don't first of all say, okay, the decision you taken at that point in time backfired and then this is wrong. But that's not me. Because I know when we take a decision at a point in time, there are many circumstantial things, and we have to take those calls at that point in time, which maybe on a hindsight may feel like, nay, this is wrong. But I know I've been in this chair of CIO for over now 2 decades. So I know what are the challenges which we face in these areas. So I personally, yes, you can say the decisions might fail, but I think those are the right decision at that point in time. It's important to take decision. It is dangerous that you don't take decision. So you take a decision, own it up to it is what I would feel.
Right. And you mentioned just now that there are a lot of challenges you need to face based on the decisions that you have made, right? Uh, if you were to pick just one toughest challenge of your life that you have taken up so far, what would that be?
Many things. I would feel that, for example, when I was in RBL,
Hmm.
email was a privilege. I'm talking back, not late, talking 2010. Email was still a privilege. Only selected people had it, others were still on a memo, physical memo. So at that point in time, I had to take a decisions on a lot of things. I had a Gantt chart where in 30 months, I took decisions one after another, and then actually created the entire backbone structure for the bank pieces. Every month, I gave one success story to be built, and that was decision because. Unlike an MNC, somebody sitting in New York takes the decision and you implement it. When I was in RBL, the first time I was working for an Indian bank or an Indian company, barring, as I said, most of the time I was JP Morgan and Barclays, where we used to be told what needs to be done. Here it was everything from from kind of soup to nut. You have to decide what you will prepare, and you need to ensure that this will work in favor of the bank. So that entire close to 4 years I was there in the bank. Every month we used to take decisions and could make one system go live, and we could see the result of that. The bank became one of the kind of fastest moving or the largest mid sector bank today. It exists. So those were the tough times we have to take those decisions. Whether you buy the core banking software or whether you buy the treasury softwares, or you decide your infrastructure, you decide the security stuff, because obviously all these things, all 9 yards in the technology are important, from, as I said, basic laptops to the most complicated AI, GenAI or ERPs or the core banking you buy. Those are the tough decisions you take. And then making them go live is another big challenge, because buying something and then not implementing is a crime. So getting it done in a ring fence time and with the right set of people is another difficult task you achieve. So the life of the CIOs in banks is very difficult. and which is one of the reasons I probably have said I've done enough of that. Now I don't want to get in that stuff. Been there, done there. Let me think something now different.
So, reflecting on that, right? You mentioned there are a lot of decisions you take and you have to stick to them, right? And each individual you might have come across, be it on the same level as you, be it someone reporting to you, or be it someone you are reporting to. They each have their own leadership style, right? But there might have been certain preconceived notions that each individual has. That okay, to me, let's say I have a certain image of what leadership is, right? And that might change over time. So it usually turns out to be the case that, okay, this is what I believe leadership was, and this turned out to be a myth rather than it being an actual quality a leader must possess. So have you figured out something like this in your life that, okay, this, I thought this was leadership to me initially, but this turned out to be a myth that usually people believe a leader must have?
It says the leadership is something which you should learn from everyone.
Mhm.
Uh, you have to learn from people like Saddam Hussein, great leader on that front. You will learn what not to do as well, because that's also important. Leadership is not what you want to do. Leadership is also what you don't want to do.
Mhm.
So you learn from everyone. As long as you have that open mind to filter what you are going to absorb in your brain, you learn everything pieces. But you then have, okay, I learned something from Mr. X, which I should never do it or try to not do it. I learned something from Mr. Y, which I should do it and acquire and practice and become a part of my inherent behavior on that. So this is a journey. As I said, leadership is not because my leader ban gaya. You until you die, you have to keep on learning, and that's what I feel is important. To keep yourself open, learn from everything, learn from good experiences, learn from bad experiences, learn from good people, learn from bad people, learn from everywhere. If you ask me, I feel that I can learn from anyone and everyone. And when I say learning, also, okay, this I don't have to do it. I've learned now that I don't have to do that. That's an important aspect as well.
Right. And this I think would be very helpful for the viewers to understand how to approach certain things, right? How do people at C-suite level think about things, right? And that's a great insight. But if you were to reflect back and let's say let's ignore the entire leadership part of the things and the corporate side of the things, right? If you mentioned that you faced a lot of hardships when you were younger, right? So to let's say the 15, 16-year-old Anup, right? What would be your one key advice that you would say? It doesn't have to be something that might ensure that Anup turns out to be a CXO in the future. It's just one key advice, just about life that you would want to give a 15-year-old Anup. What would that be?
So I feel that if I look back on hindsight in terms of if I take back myself in the memory lanes in those period, what
Mhm.
other advice I would give to the kids who are the same age today? I would say that one important thing is that don't expect that everything will be rosy, because today's kid generally wants to see everything going as a hockey stick, fast
Mhm.
growth, fast. I want everything now.
Mhm.
uh, you can ask for that, but everything has its own maturity period. You can't pluck a flower which is still in a bud. You have to, it will take its own time to kind of flourish
Mhm.
or bloom.
Mhm.
Likewise, one thing which I realized was that life is full of sinusoidal cough. It is not a hockey stick. It is a sinusoidal curve, and it should be there. Because if it's a hockey stick, you will burn out immediately or very soon, and then you don't have any purpose in life. So you need to have that sinusoidal curve, because that's your ECG as well. If your
Mhm.
ECG is flat or ECG is going up, it's a wrong, it's a bad sign. It has to go up and down, and that's the life you learn. I feel on hindsight, I would say I've seen ups in my life, I've seen downs in my life, I've seen ups and downs, and I think that's the life. One thing which everybody has to understand today's kid, that you have to go through this cycle. There's no shortcut for it. You
Mhm.
have to go. You have to face. You have to go down for
Mhm.
you to come back. You can't just say I'll go up and up and up. No, you have to go down, and this will become in everybody's life. I when I was at JP Morgan, I thought I will retire from JP Morgan. That's a dream company. I'll retire from JP Morgan, and then boom, I was asked to go. I was again on the ground. And then I say, I don't know how to start. Now again, I started back after spending almost close to 12 years in JP Morgan, starting my career in there. I don't know what to do. And I again rose. And then again, the crisis came in and Barclays. And then I said, okay, let me start. Then it became a part of my behavior that I like to challenge myself. So
Mhm.
RBL, getting into RBL at that point in time was a big challenge. Okay,
Mhm.
I want to try something new. on that front. Pieces going from a banking to an IT industry was something a different challenge. I said, okay, I would transform all the four banks where I worked. JP Morgan, 22nd employee, Barclays to set up the entire data centers in Greenfield. Likewise, RBL, the entire transformation journey, or the Yes Bank journey was a different to change an engine of a moving car to grow the balance sheet from 100,000 crore to 500,000 crore. So different kind of a challenge. And when challenges came to me for Wipro, I said, okay, I never worked in an IT company. Let me try it out. A global company with 250,000 people across 65 countries. Let me try that. How does it feel like being a CIO in a technology company? Because everybody's a technologist over there. It's a different challenge which you will face because everybody knows what technology is about. Unlike a bank where I'm a CIO, I'm like a CEO of an IT company inside a bank. But in an IT company, I'm one among the 250,000. So it's a different kind of a challenge. But so one thing which I would advise the kids is be ready and to go up and down and up and down and up and down. It's the fun because that keeps you going in your life. Don't think that I will have everything going up and up and up. That's the worst thing which can happen to anyone, because you may think professionally to ऊपर जा रहे हो, but if you look at the lifespan, professional is one part of it. As an individual, then you will fail because you can't handle the downside. Once what will happen, assuming you had a successful career of 35, 40 years, and when you finish, I'm telling you, your life will be miserable. You need during this career to have that trait in you, build that behavior and that competency in how to handle the down times. That's an important aspect. All the kids today should be ready, up, down, challenge yourself, next level, challenge yourself, next level, challenge your face the failures, go down. Even at this age, I'm thinking what new challenge which I want to have. I could have still continued as a job another 5, 6 years or 7 years. Now I'm thinking, no, let me challenge myself. Let me do something different. I'm trying to do that at this stage.
That's a great insight. And I hope our viewers also try to implement that in their lives. You gave us a lot of insights about how one should be approaching things, how you have approached things in your personal journey, right? There are a lot of more things usually young people try to look at. I have seen a lot of people give book recommendations, right? That these are the books that you should be reading in order to learn about things, in order to grow your mindset, right? But that turns out to be a lot of different set of books that people recommend, and it turns out that people, at least I myself, get overwhelmed that okay, these are three books that this person is telling, these are three books that this person is telling. What should I read? Where should I start? Right? So I'll try to frame this question in a different way. If there was only one book that you were allowed to read again, rest all the books only you can read once in your life, which would be that book that you would choose to read again and again and again throughout your life?
So, first of all, I'm not a avid reader. So I like to listen books. So one book which I have at my home and which I keep on hearing is my wife reads it, is Bhagavad Gita. If you actually read every time, you will have a new understanding of the same things, different things. So all those 18 adhyayas, what I have it at my home, what you see is in my probably the picture behind, you see that Bhagavad Gita lying there, and that's the one which I would read again and again and again because I learn something new every time you read it.
That's quite interesting. Thank you for that recommendation.
It's not only personal, but as a professional, you can apply management, you can apply anything and everything in that piece, in that book. It has everything.
Right, right. Agreed with that point. And I think I have been a fan of Bhagavad Gita myself. I The one quote that I keep reminding myself is the karm one, that karm karte ja, fal ki chinta mat kar. I keep on reminding myself that part and again and again.
And that's an important aspect, I would say, because a lot of people want an instant gratification of what they do. And that's a part of today's life. Instant answer मिलता है. आप chat GPT को पूछो, instant answer मिलता है. Don't look out for an instant gratification. In the longer, to build your persona, to build yourself, an excellent reward over a period of time.
Agreed with that. And there's one more question I wanted to ask around the same lines. I've read a few articles about you as well, in which it's either an interview of yours that is being quoted in that article, or it's usually an article about you, right? And you yourself post stuff on LinkedIn and different social platforms, right? Let's assume that everything that you've posted so far, any digital trace of Anup Purohit, has been erased from the internet, right? It's removed, and you have only 30 seconds to give your view, or it could be an advice, it could be anything that you want to say to the world, what would that be?
Yeah, if it's general, then obviously it's one aspect. But if I have to give about any particular technology, it's a different aspect. So what exactly do you want in that 30 second? Anything or very specific for certain things? Like today, flavor of the season is AI, agentic AI framework, where there are a lot of things happening in that space. I can talk about that, or it's general leadership, or it is giving an advice to all the budding kids who probably wants things faster. I can talk about that aspects. So I can speak on multiple topics.
All right. So
But
let's break it down into three parts. First part we can take would be a general advice. It doesn't have to be directed to any individual, any age group, or any specific person. Second would be a purely professional one, right? It would be targeted to the individuals who are aspiring to reach the CXO level, who are at the CXO level, and who want to learn more about your journey, right? And the third one, let's keep it targeted to young kids who are currently in their academic journey and who will be eventually transitioning into the professional world, right? So let's break
great.
it down into three.
So the first one in general, as I said, is keep keep a kind of a be open to kind of a in your life journey, whatever, from the kids to the time you live. You need to have peaks and trough. For me, that is important. For me personally, I feel that's important, and that's important for everyone. So be open. Don't take any challenges as a setback, or any failures as a setback. Take it as an opportunity in yourself, in whatever you do. So that's the first part. And you should fail. If you're not failing, that's something wrong, and that will lead to a catastrophic stuff. So you should fail and learn to handle that situation, to come out of that failure. That's an important aspect, because that's a skill which everybody has to possess. On that, it's not a skill to keep on winning. It's a skill that when you fall, how do you get up and kind of come back again? That skill is important. So practice those things in whichever, in personal life, professional life, or wherever you are. That skill of sinusoidal curve, understand, embrace that you have to have this sinusoidal curve in your life. If that's not happening, there's something wrong. You need to kind of have that thing, which means either you're not taking enough challenges, you're not challenging yourself, which means you're doing basic things and going up. So fail, take a challenge, fail, great, come out of that situation. It's important to that. Obviously, you need to be thinking in the right manner. You can't just jump from the 100th floor and then figure it out what I need to do in that. So that's one aspect I would say. The second one, what you are kind of giving it to the who are entered their professional career, and probably want to kind of gear up and then see how they want to take up their professional piece that up. Now, spending 30 plus years in the banking and in the IT industry, I've seen a various transformation in the digitization, a lot of disruption happening, innovations happening in these areas. So if you are starting your journey in this area, I would say the one of the guiding few of the guiding principles which I would want to kind of lay out on the table. The first one I would say is build a strong foundation, whatever you do. A piece. So I started my career as a technology in a banking domain. Now, a lot of people understand technology, but they don't understand what the technology is being used for the business. They don't understand the finance part of it. So for me, three things when you are in the technology field. Yes, you understand technology, but understand the business outcome outside that. The business domain for which you are using, you should know the domain. And then obviously you need to understand the financial aspect of all things. So these three are very important: technology, finance, and the business in which you are working. You need to know that business. So that's a foundation you are creating it. Technology will keep on changing. Business is important. If you talk to the business in the language which they understand, as a technology person, you need to talk to the business in the language they understand. That's an important aspect. Second, if you want to grow, you need to understand the P&L of technology. How is your technology investments or technology expenses are impacting to the bottom line of your organization. So it's important to understand that. Second, I would tell the people who are starting, be curious, be curious about learning, keep on learning. It's important that any new technology which you are coming in, if you're a technology, keep on having understanding about that. Understand more about the business. So learning is something which has to be continuous. You can't just say, "यार बहुत हो गया अभी अभी मेरे को I don't want to learn anything new. So keep on learning these new things coming in, technology, cybersecurity. You have to kind of keep on building. Domain knowledge, as I said, is important aspect. You have to think big in that area. Other, which is not, I would say, directly associated with technology, is your integrity. For you, that integrity is most important. Being integrate, having the integrity in whatever you do, putting in the hard work or your personal dedication, your perseverance is the most important aspect which you should not compromise on. Focus on these areas: integrity, personal dedication, perseverance, hard work. There's no shortcut for any of these things. You will become a role model if you keep on practicing this over time again and again. And that's what you should aspire. This builds the character, this build your persona, this build your image in front of everyone when you do things right, I would say. The other thing which I generally keep on telling my team is to, particularly because I'm from the technology domain, people don't understand the difference between the uh, effort, technology output, and the business outcome. Three different concepts. I work for 10 days in a row and my manager is not appreciating it. That's an effort you put in. During this period, I brought up 10 application. I put in so many firewalls. I did so many. That's a technology output. What is the business outcome you achieve? Focus on the business outcome as well. So I'm not saying the other two are minuscule. They are important, but you need to focus on what is the outcome. Where is your effort going in? Where is the output going in? And that's the outcome which you should. So that's one thing I would leave with the kids today. Kids are only talking about, I speak to my son, he's also focusing on a lot of, I was working for 2 a.m. in the morning. I said, it's okay. It's the beginning of your career. You work. Focus on where you are able to achieve the outcome, what your management is looking out for. That's an important aspect, I would leave. The third thing for the kids, you said, uh, 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 or even for the people, one good concept which I learned, and maybe I think worth sharing it with you, is I was just thinking my entire journey and I was trying to put them into 5 buckets and measuring myself against those pieces. We have heard about I am I intellectually growing, about EQ. Am I emotionally growing? Am I empathetically growing about my people, colleagues? So EQ part of it. In a corporate life, EQ is equally important, which is adaptability. You may not, like you say, you can't hire your manager, you can't choose your manager. You will have to adapt to the environment. You have to adapt to the ecosystem of the business. You have to adapt to the ecosystem of the markets.
So you're not sure what happened. I think it restarted automatically. Sorry, go
That
ahead.
important aspect, which I was kind of a last 2.5 months that I'm at home, I was kind of looking at these 5 domains where, so one is obviously an IQ, which I said intellectual. Have I grown intellectually? Absolutely. I'm satisfied for my last 30 years of journey in that area. EQ emotionally, yes, I'm satisfied in terms of emotional quotient. You need to have that in you. Empathy, understanding, gratitude, staying grounded, important aspect. Adaptability, the quotient is another one, which is an important aspect, which typically, maybe at my age, after 30 years, I may not be okay for adapting to the new things from which I feel, no, this is not good for me. I'll move out and do something else. That is open for even you guys as well. But I feel at the beginning of the career or the mid management, adaptability is an important aspect. How do you adapt to management? How do you adapt to new technology? How do you adapt to new business needs? So it's important to have that aspect. Financial quotient, an important aspect. I've been listening to your podcast on the financial, and that's an important aspect today. Kids don't understand that. It's the most important aspect. Eventually, that's equally matters, if not completely matters. It does matters a lot. You need to know your finance. I realized over a period of maybe the initial 20 years, I was working, but I didn't focus on being a banker. I didn't focus on the financials. That was something which I realized I did something wrong, and then I started focusing on my financials. I did a lot of wrongs in my financial management, but I think touch wood, at least now I'm doing it right. So that's one thing I would say, kids of your age, start thinking in that direction. How are you financially literate to do your investments? Not only focusing on the business of financial, but also focusing in the personal financial as well. Important aspect. And the last quotient is the health quotient. Important aspect. A lot of folks forget about that. And then you need to focus on your health quotient as well. And then that's, I would say, the most important. If that goes south, then all other thing doesn't matter. So ensure that your health quotient is taken care. and then no compromise on that piece. So these are the five: IQ, EQ, AQ, FQ, and HQ is what I feel are important things which probably kids should know in their life.
I mean, that's an amazing way to put it. Those five things, I'll probably it'll pop up on the screen here so that everyone can take notes, everyone can keep that in mind. And it's been so insightful. I am genuinely saying this because initially I had thought of ki how would the conversation flow, how would these things go, how would will I be able to ask the right questions? But you helped a lot. You gave me different perspectives. You also gave it in a very structured format, which I think is going to be really beneficial for the viewers. And I think whatever you have said so far, most of it, all of it, I would say is something that if I was the one watching it right now, I would be taking down notes. I would be ensuring that I am remembering all of this. And it's been a great conversation. Thank you so much. Anything at all you want to add as a closing point or anything you want to cover that we haven't
No, I
covered
think
so far?
well, I thought from my childhood days, I never spoke to anyone. So thanks for taking back in that memory lane. It's been an awesome conversation. I know you for some time now. I would say that. So I keep on reading your posts. You're doing a phenomenal job, and all the best to you in your life.
Thank you so much. It's been a great conversation. Thank you for joining us.
Yes.